Again, these printers, they're really a hit and miss, and they can create a lot of a mess. They usually have a skirt as well. Well, it depends exactly on your model, but I generally use a skirt. And as you can see, it's kind of working okay so far. It's on 60-220, which is I thought was pretty good for PLA and adhesion to the PEI bed. I think the bed might be slightly warped. I'm not sure. Maybe that's one of the reasons why it's kind of not adhering as well. Had a lot of bad prints. I think this was a pretty good print. This is a laptop stand. See, I kind of had some scratches on the side as I was trying to sand it, but yeah, I feel like it's just really hard to sand. Maybe I'm not doing it right. Maybe I should have a sanding block to sand it instead of just using the paper itself. It's probably to apply more pressure. And this is kind of like one of those pretty concise or involved parts with a lot of different kind of geometries. Useful for like a repeating kind of thing. The other stuff isn't really a thing, but I also have a bunch of other failures. This was supposed to be a flute, which you can see there's quite a bit of a bend, warp towards the side, towards either side. It's kind of like a submarine almost. Yeah, it doesn't even stand properly. Look at that gap. It's kind of one of the issues with 3D printing is the warping. But it kind of just is what it is, I guess. This one turned out slightly better, but it's not really to scale. The print bed on the Kingroon is actually quite small, and a lot of the parts, they're quite big. This one should be like more than 2 times bigger in all dimensions. There's not as much warping, I don't think, with this one, but there's quite a bit of a brim that I have yet to cut off with the deburring tool. The deburring tools are quite useful. This is a file, which is could try using as well, but I didn't really see the file being that useful. Where did I put my deburring tool? Damn, I might have misplaced it, but there are certain tools. This is a must-have. Kind of just looks like, I don't know, a screwdriver or something, but it's what you do is you kind of use this kind of sharp edge. It's kind of hard to do with only one hand, but you see, it's relatively sharp. And the way that it's kind of, the geometry is kind of set up makes it very, very easy, very, very nice to kind of scrape off extra material and edges. Kind of also allows you to smooth out certain planes as well, which is pretty good, I'd say. That would allow you to kind of like, if you print out something like a donut, I guess, you can see on the top it's usually quite nice. It's smooth enough, I guess. You can polish it a bit for sure, but on the bottom where you have like the initial setup stage and building on top, you have quite a bit of an issue. And here you kind of have to sand it off and use the deburring tool to scrape off some extra stuff. There's extra kind of ligaments like that, which you really don't want. And just the overall kind of structure itself, it's not very good. You might want to slice. Maybe you add support so that it's off ground. Maybe a brim you can use and just cut off that brim so that maybe the bottom part is much more smooth. Or just yeah, just print something like this, where the bottom part's much more flat, so it's just much more smooth. In general, because of the way it prints. Because when you're kind of trying to print something with a irregular kind of geometry, where there's much more curves, and it has to print up on the curves on a pretty low foundation. You know, it's kind of just printing on this very small circumference, and it's kind of having to lift up and stuff like that. It's just the printing isn't just going to do well. I mean, might have to do more tests to see exactly what works, especially with something like this. Speaking about that, how are we looking so far? So, yeah. I like Titan Extruder is doing pretty well. It's a direct drive. If you've noticed, it's kind of directly feeding the filament in. It doesn't go as fast as the Bowden drives, Bowden extruders, or the kind of dual gears. I don't think this is dual gear. I think it's just a single one, single big gear. You can see. And yeah, I think the hot end's pretty good too. So this is kind of one of the printers that, it's kind of recommended if you're just wanting to have something up, I guess. But I mean, it's looking pretty good. It's looking like it's adhering pretty well. Sometimes what happens is the BL Touch sensor, especially that lower part that touches the plane, it might get stuck or hit certain parts of the print. So that's one of the things that you might have to account for. Yeah, it is kind of just what it is, and that could distort the print as well. I think some of my prints were actually distorted quite a bit because of it, especially in the initial setting up stage. It's not the greatest. Yeah, but I guess it's fine. Looks like it also would be able to go much higher, but it's only about 180 at most, I think. I think technically you could probably go higher. Yeah, I actually don't know why you can't, because I'm pretty sure it's, at least the hardware itself, you would assume it's actually quite big. It's almost like, give or take maybe 28, 27. You'd think it could go up to at least that range, but only goes up to like 180. That's kind of sucks, really. Especially since the hardware, it feels like it's kind of there. Here we have some sandpaper for sanding, extra things as well, some other kind of stuff, junk here. Okay, well, looks pretty good, I'd say. Yeah, solar panel, 30x36, pretty nice. RT S752, which I'm planning to try out for the new 3D printer and sound module. And yeah, that's about it.